Hello. Hi. Sorry for delaying starting. So we have an hour and a half together.
Yes.
And during that time, I hope to learn a thing or two from you, and I hope to conspire with you for a conspiracy that we can blame him for. Just let me say that everything we're doing and talking about is on a live stream being recorded to a Vimeo channel called This Is Not a Performance, which is a initiative I started recently to document the work involved in reimagining, redesigning our relationship to natural systems, which is what it is that I try to do. So how many of you were here this morning for the lecture? Everyone. Good. Okay. I wasn't sure there would be overlap. Thank you. That's great. So what I'd like to focus on is three things. One is to establish and help me develop this sketchbook and the local phenological clock. If you came through the museum, you'll see that we're putting up the phenological data that Josep sourced from the pollen studies. That is really great, reliable, quantitative data that is unusual, because even though phenology and phenological information, when flowers bloom, when the birds migrate, even though this is critical to understanding a dynamic natural system, there's very little good data on it. But it is the quintessential citizen science, before citizen science was even a term. The idea, in fact, Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau, is famous for having put on his door. He only lived on Walden Pond for a year. I don't know if you know this guy, this great American pragmatic political activist, single guy who was pretty interested in telling everybody how they should live. Sort of like the Peter Singer. Have you heard of Peter Singer? He's a philosopher who's an Australian realist, which is a class of philosopher that is brutally rational and to the point of being insane. And I have to apologize to the world because he's an Australian, and that's where the school of Australian realists come from, Australia. This kind of bombastic, brutal, male, unimaginative. So Peter Singer is a household name because he tells people how to live. He quantifies for us how much you can, how you should eat, that you should be vegan or vegetarian. So he's kind of a rational voice of the left that many people have embraced, and yet he denies that we have any human creative agency, right? He's a very controversial book at the moment, talking about how philanthropists and foundations should not waste their money funding art, because that money could be better spent on preventing blindness in Africa. As if it's a one-to-one comparison, as if it's an economic choice, as if it can be rationalized, as if our agency and where and how you invest your money doesn't matter. So, I mean, I want to argue that what we can do is the antidote to Peter Singer, whose idea is that we can calculate what is the rational, moral, and correct thing to do to save the environment. Because who the fuck knows? As if anybody has the solutions or the answers or the, and if they did, how could it apply to all of us everywhere anyway, right? So my, that's sort of another setup to say that there's three things I'd like to do. I think that understanding our own local ecosystems and who are the players in them and who and how we depend on non-humans, which we've been systematically blinded to in our urban lifestyles. We don't know how much we depend on bees and butterflies and leaves and birds, and we need to rediscover that. And that's a pleasurable and wonderful activity. So in order to do that, I mean, it's an interesting set of choices around the phenological clock. There is some scientific data about phenology. There is some historic data about phenology. There's actually data going back 500 years of people observing when flowers bloom. And you know, it's such an important and beautiful impulse. And of course, my first impulse is, oh, we could just get Instagram photographs and everyone could tag them, and we could collectively produce a phenological clock for Barcelona by looking at all the images on Instagram or and there's a couple of problems with that idea that we can use the digital image opportunity. And it's interesting, the hashtag flower is, I think, the second most used one after hashtag food. So it's, many of us are stopping to smell the flowers and taking those images. Sorry?
I today have a series of images on flowers, and everybody sends to IDA.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's a massive.
And what does IDB stand for?
I follow him in Twitter, so I receive images of flowers.
Oh, I see. So you follow, and that's all he does is flowers.
With that, I have to, exactly, I have no idea if it has a further purpose.
Probably not. I can find to look at flowers. I mean, flowers, I'm fascinated. They're the display technology of natural systems, right? They are the LCDs and the iPhone. They are, and all of the, you know, they're also the sexual organs of plants, right? They're kind of this great porn show that's going on all the time. We can touch and feel their delicate reproductive organs and penile, what are they called? Anyway, their sex is on display, right? And it's delightful to look at, and it's wonderful. But taking the image is not sufficient. It doesn't really develop our relationship with it. It doesn't really change that relationship. To some extent it does. But to sketch something, to sketch a natural phenomena, gives you a much more embodied, sustained relationship to that natural phenomena. There's a very different, there's actually some friends of mine called Scale-Free Networks. Do you know these guys, Scale-Free Networks? They're based in Australia. A science art collaboration. And they do a beautiful project called, I don't know what they call it. I actually hosted their workshop several times, and I call it life drawing. They call it something smart. But we take droplets of water and then project them, dress up people in lab coats, and project the images from the microscope from the drop of water. And all the little microbes are swimming around large, and we all do a collective drawing. And just trying to draw the moving organism as it's moving is gives you such a detailed understanding of the flagella that is propelling them in a way you would never get even with a detailed microscopic image of it, right? It's the effort to capture the living movement, the life that is, I think, really embodied in the sketch. So what I'm hoping we'll do today is some sketches of natural phenomena in and around here, towards starting to invite and collect some phenological observations. And in fact, the whole purpose of the phenological clock is to say, let's turn our attention to natural systems, because now is the time we have to re-examine, rethink, and understand how they work, how we can learn from them, how we can work with them. And so what I've done is print out these lab book sketchbooks here. Which have a number of options. So as you can see, this is a blank phenological clock. And the idea is that you could have this as a lab book, sketchbook, a moleskin, a moleskin thing that you would have with you to write your notes in and to observe natural phenomena, any natural phenomena that just retrains our eyes towards the living, dynamic, interdependent system that we depend on so critically. So you can see very easily that this is, you choose a set of organisms that you care about, right, or that you're interested in observing. The conventions are around here, perennials, those first three perennial flowers is the first three arcs. So that means choose 3 perennial flowers, flowering plants that you care about, that you've noticed and that you want to pay attention to. The next one is 3 insects. The next one is 3 amphibians. The next one is 3 birds, 3 mammals, 3 trees. And then the outside set of arcs, the 3 arcs on the outside, I call happenings, which might be the apple picking season. Oh, it's not apple picking season, there's no apples. What was Jose Luis was saying, November is truffle season. So he, of course, organizes truffle hunting parties around that time. So the idea is to pick the organisms that you care about. And I think for many of us, even give them a name, right? To give them the scientific name and to go beyond, oh, that's a jasmine plant. Or is it prompt to know a little bit more about it? And this of course, is a simple summary graph that also is like a table of contents. And it's not the meat, right? The meat, of course, is the sketches you will do. So we've only got a couple of blank pages, but in the real sketchbook that you're prototyping, your alpha testing, we would have it much more like a moleskin, where you have the lab book with this at the front, or the back, or in the middle, or maybe we have seasonally, we have first the spring version, we have 4 little books, then the sort of late spring, early summer, the 4 different quarters. So what will work? So let me distribute these to begin with. And I think that what will, yeah, just let me distribute these. There's two different versions of them. And we'll go outside and do at least 2 sketches of natural phenomena today. There's 2 different versions. One has all of the sections of the year, as if you're going to keep doing it all year round. And I invite you to. The other, which is Yolanda printed out all 4 sections, but I think it's ambitious if we get, 1 quarter of the year and start doing systematic observation. Is that clear how to use it? If I can pass it around? The idea is that you, if you have this, say, jasmine flower, and they're just starting to bud already here, and you notice there's a budding, you would put that and color it in some way. And then you notice flowering, and you color it in. If you notice a bee comes to it, you would note that. So the kind of events that you just noticed, and of course, it's just that you notice them that matters, right? And that you observe it, yeah?
I think I don't really understand when I have to think. Whenever I see for example, I click a rose,
Yeah,
and I put here rose.
right.
And
And number
then
1 is your rose. And then on January, where are we now? It's February.
February, yeah.
So in week 1,
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
you would put a little mark there that would mean something to you. Either it can just be starting flowering,
Okay.
or you might put a little cross there or a little dot there to say, I looked at it today. Or you might put a little dot there with a green dot beside it. I saw a bee on it in the middle of early February, right? So it's just the date and the set of observations that you do about that plant. It's summarized on this chart.
I have to put different marks for every different phenomenon. Or like this is the line for the rose, and it's like I see a rose, the mark. 2 weeks later, I see that it's flowering. I put another mark.
The way I would do it
Yeah.
is, and again, this is what makes sense to you.
Yeah.
What you notice.
Okay.
To me, noticing that the roses have started blooming, what date that happens, I would put a line, a pink line there. And that this, and I put a note there saying that it was the first bite I saw, or it opened up.
Okay.
Annotated in a way that makes sense that you can remember. I mean, there's one thing about, the only thing I think, actually, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about STEM education, the only thing that there is about science, technology, engineering, math education that's different from art education. I think there's only one difference in figuring out the difference between an observation and speculation. And that's the hardest skill to learn and to teach. To disambiguate when you're just observing something and when you're actually ascribing some sort of meaning to it, that, oh my God, that means climate change is happening. So this is really about facilitating the observation, the empirical observation that you've noticed something, and the budding and the blooming and the number of buds. So you might put a different line for each rose. Because some of the blooms last for months. Some of them last for, some plants have a very short bloom cycle. And so you might have 4 different blooms. You might have, you can again assign, maybe there's only rose bushes you want to do. And you can call number 1 the rose bush for, on your balcony and one in your park and the one in your, so you can observe this and adapt. This is, in no way is this intended to be prescriptive. It's an invitation for you to notice what's interesting. Because, and this is the question about citizen science. This is not a citizen science project. I'm not telling you, I'm doing this important research, and I need you to collect the phenological observations of the flowers within a 1 mile radius of your park, right, of your home, right? Which in learning from you what you decide to observe. I have to say that I learned this very strongly when I have a project in the San Francisco Bay Area with clone trees that are genetically identical, planted in pairs in different microclimates. Been going for about 15 years. And so I go around with a lot of different scientists to understand why the trees look different, right? They're 10 feet apart. And they, you know, I could have done an experiment in my lab, right? Just different, a controlled experiment where you vary one parameter and say, okay, I'm changing the soil on this, I'm changing the light exposure on this, I'm changing the air pollution on this one. All the clones. But this is an uncontrolled public experiment. And this genre of public experiment is something that we're very interested in articulating what it is that you can learn from these uncontrolled experiments. And so I can show actually some images of this because I think it's a really, it was a really interesting way for me to learn how I learn and how we learn and what distributed intelligence really is. So just to show you, this is the map of the San Francisco Bay Area where all the different clonal trees are. And this is what they look like when they were first planted as little babies, all genetically identical, micropropagated from a single bunch of stem cells for plants, which is adventitious tissue, and grown under identical conditions and then planted in these different places in the Bay Area. And so this is the two of the clones of Warm Water Cove that are, you know, 15 feet apart, 8 meters apart. And same exposure to everything, but radically different. These are the two that are the most divergent. Again, 15 feet apart, 8 meters apart. Same light exposure, same conditions. And I mean, this one is more than twice the size. From the caliper of the caliper of this one is like this. The caliper of this one is like this, right? Same age, genetically identical, planted in the same conditions. I thought, okay, what's going on here? And I've been visiting these for every year, trying to figure it out, wiping the leaves to look at the pollutant loading, particulate loading on the, trying to figure out what's going on. And so a couple of years ago, I was there at the trees, sitting there looking at them, feeling stupid. This guy, this construction worker, Troy Martinez, came and approached me and said, why do you keep looking at these trees? I've seen you bring around these, you know, scientists. I've seen you keep coming back. What is it about these trees? And so I explained the project to him. I said they're genetically identical, and I said, you know, the problem is, I really don't, you know, I don't know why. They've got the same solar exposure. I had thought, my original theory was that one had gotten into the stormwater mains and had unlimited water, and the other one hadn't. And this is an arid, you know, Californian context, so that would make a difference. Turns out in San Francisco, the beautiful thing about San Francisco is that you know, it's a seismic area, and all of the water mains are in terracotta. And they've all been jiggling around for 100 years or so. So they're all cracked and they're all leaking, you know, water everywhere. So they subsidize the reason why the mission is so green is because they're getting constant supply of water from these leaking water mains. And there's no, you know, so that theory was blown. And so this construction worker said, is that obvious? And I, you know, literally, I had visited these trees with many arborists and soil scientists, and I said, no, it's not obvious. He said, well, look at the houses behind. And yeah. I looked at the house behind. The small one has a little small house behind, you know, a 1950s kind of very cheap construction, and this one has an old, big Victorian painted lady, right? The classic San Francisco house that you can just see the corner of there. As if this was some sort of explanation. So I looked at Brian, and he said, you know, he really by this time thought I was totally stupid. And he explained to me very patiently that between the Victorian painted lady and the 1950s structure, something called the earthquake happened, the 1911 earthquake, 1911, I think. The big one in San Francisco, right? I still didn't understand what that meant. And so he patiently explained to me that, in fact, that meant that building code had changed significantly between this structure and that structure. That means the foundations were radically different, right? That means that underneath this tiny little structure is a really huge foundation, and underneath this big structure, you know, it's effectively sitting on nothing. Yeah, so the roots are going everywhere. And of course, this is 10 years of me not figuring this out, right? And some guy, construction worker, who figured it out and gave the best explanation of all of the people that I've talked with and consulted. And so I tell that parable, I think, as a story of, you don't know who can make sense of complex urban ecosystems, right? We all have our own expertise to make sense of what's worth looking at and what that means. And so that's why this kind of sketchbook lab book is not very prescriptive. It's kind of open-ended enough to collect the observations. And then tonight, after you do your drawings, we will exhibit them in the foyer here, in the Preliminary Museum of Natural Features. We'll just exhibit them on the table in what I call an urban naturalist exhibition, or an unexhibition, on the table, and you will have your drawings there, and people will come along and say, what's that? You'll have to explain, and I'd never noticed that. Or, you know, so the kind of exchange that we can have around mutually looking at our observations and making sense of them together, I think can be very constructive. We can learn from each other, even though we don't know the scientific names, even though we're not scientifically accredited. This kind of notebook is an invitation to say, let's try and, you know, see what makes sense to me, what I want to look at, what I'm trying to systematically observe, and, you know, this open-ended question that needs the observation, the distributed intelligence, the intelligence of each one of us to make sense of, because it's irreducibly complex, but understandable. So that idea, I keep looking at, whenever I talk about complexity, I look at our complexity scientist who's here. Complexity is a very problematic notion, and calling urban systems complex is not necessarily good, because that means, oh, we can't understand them, we can't, you know, they're too complex for me to, you know, it's another way to distance. So this is about recognizing the complexity, but also understanding that there are ways to make sense of complexity locally, specifically, that can aggregate into something powerful without reducing or simplifying or trying to obscure the complexity. So that's a bit of, you know, big theory behind why your sketches and your observations are so important. So I think what we'll do before we go out and about, did everyone get one?
So there's only one page to sketch, or do we have more pages?
There is only one page to sketch, but we can slip
Depends on
blank ones inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a ream of blank paper somewhere too. These are the ones we got printed. But yeah, these are one sketch is great. And we will. Great idea. Great idea. So take a couple of these. You had two good ideas. Take a Macba folder with you, and take a couple of extra sheets if you want to do some more sketches. And we're not going yet, but
In the sketches, what exactly do you?
right, that's actually, so that we just got the question of what exactly do we want to sketch. And as I say, it's open-ended. However, it's an unexhibition, right? So it's an urban naturalist, any natural phenomenon that you see. It might be a little spider that's hidden in a corner and found a home somewhere in the concrete. It might be the mold growing on the wall. It might be patterns of the birds going across. It might be, you know, a bud on a tree, or what's inside the dog poop, which seems to be around in there. You know, it's any natural phenomenon. But the second thing I'd like you to think about as you're out there is this new platform that I'm developing that your observations could feed into. So you saw today that I was talking about the Bike Messenger project. So this is about building the, with Media Lab Mexico. This is an open source hardware project where we take bikes and persistence of vision displays. We've printed the boards and designed the boards and the software. And in order to, one of the big things that I care about is, of course, hyperlocal production. So how do we not have this assembled in China for the cheapest possible price, but in fact assemble it ourselves because it's a new media platform. We want to know how persistence of vision displays work. We want to know how it's made. We want to know how to fix it. So, so we do a hardware assembly project and put it on our bikes, and have the software to be able to geolocate information. And then, of course, we have to develop. The hard part is actually developing the stories. What do we want to put in place? When a bike rides through this plaza, what do we want to show on its wheels? Is it that we want to show that there's birds nesting, there's these parrots are nesting over here? Is it that we want to show that there's a new waste to energy system that we're developing here? What is it that is interesting about a place that is important to put through on this alternative new channel that places information in such a way that obviously makes the cyclist more visible, but is only interesting. It's actually much better. It's very hard to get this in video, but it looks much better in actual, because persistence of vision is very frame rate dependent, and so the video frame rate cuts it off. But effectively, we've got a beautiful circular full video display almost, and we can put any information anywhere. And the question is, what information is it important to put in place to make salient in that place? And so I'd like you to be walking around today with me. I'd like to do this as a kind of group and discussing, little bits of history and little bits of possibility that we might be able to put in places as we're making these observations. So then the final thing that I would like to alert you to is the possibility that Javier and Josep and I have been conjuring of using the waste in this area as energy. So one of the things you'll see here is the waste. This is the waste for all of Barcelona. It's in Catalan, I'm sorry. So if you want to take one of these with you to consider what I think is, another one of the big cultural challenges we face of how to rethink waste. Because we've, the way that we've institutionalized waste, the way we've defined urban infrastructure is wasting waste. And of course, in natural systems, there's no such thing as waste, right? One person's waste, one organism's waste is another organism's food. And of course, that's the definition of a mutualistic system. And this is our big opportunity to redesign our relationship to natural systems, is to take our waste and to figure out what to do with it. That makes it a much more productive thing than the way we're currently doing it in big trucks, in big bins, big trucks. To triple truck our waste around makes no sense at all. It pollutes the air, it degrades your cardiovascular health, it takes it to a big incinerator that then does thermal pollution of the water, also pollutes the air, does some energy generation, but it's not actually for energy generation. And the design that you will see in your booklet here is the preliminary design for a waste to energy system that we'd like to put here, potentially, in Raval area, maybe in one of these plazas, which is something I'm calling the kitchen is closed, which is an outdoor community kitchen and also a waste to energy center, right? So that we can take the two processes that I'm most interested in which is pyrolysis, which I talked about earlier today, that generates clean energy and biochar, and anaerobic digestion, which is good for the second largest waste stream, which is food waste in this area. So you can see these are the two major waste streams. We could organize our waste in a radically different way, where it's just in the neighborhood. You bring your old dissertations and your Vogue magazines and your paper waste to the kitchen is closed, and that's where you have your, I don't know, wedding parties, you know, a barbecue area, if you will, where you have, where municipal waste disposal is repositioned as a kitchen, right? We can all understand
It's a
kitchens.
kind of celebration of the cycle.
Exactly, yes, absolutely. So the waste food generates energy to cook with. So both the pyrolysis process with waste paper and the anaerobic digestion process with waste food generates gas that you can cook with, and much more energy than what we could use for cooking. But at least that, and at least you get to familiarize with what these unfamiliar processes are that we all depend on critically, right? And a great opportunity for us to really redesign our infrastructure. So as we're walking around, think about what that might look like. What a future with a kitchen is closed, community kitchen, community managed energy center, where that might go here or in your community, how that might work, how far you'd be willing to walk with your trash, your food waste, what kind of trolley you would do that on, or whether you want a tricycle, or how you would make it a pedestrian and most convivial, fun, interesting place. In this technology is adapted from a lot of development engineering, where in Africa, biochar degraded, Australia, we have degraded farmland up the wazoo. We've got such degraded soil, and biochar is a big thing. But in Africa, where a lot of development initiatives have really taken the cook stoves and looked at what kind of resourceful adaptations they can make. What's interesting about this kitchen is closed came from a very interesting concrete. In Ghana, there was a trash collection community that worked with an NGO, and they produced incineration, high temperature incineration. It wasn't pyrolysis, but it was something that they could cook with, and so they did. So this trash community, people who live on landfills, picking, and were able to then cook with the trash. But what was interesting is how much that freed up the women to get educated, because having a community kitchen where the kids were there, rather than having to cook alone in your home, means that you've got collective childcare happening. And, women can do deals with, can you watch my kids? I'm going to go and, do. So it actually was a really great community organizing facility to allow women other opportunities and free childcare with the community, because of course it takes a village. So these unintended social consequences that come from being able to make a convivial space that works in our interests is something that I want you to concretely look at as we go out today. So that's the agenda. Finding a natural phenomena to sketch, looking for opportunities for interesting stories and information about that we could turn into a bike messenger display, and then re-looking at waste and how waste could become a convivial opportunity. And then I want you each to take a couple of these coins with you. And I'll tell you what they're for afterwards. So if you can take a, I think, how many did we go? Yeah, at least 2 coins. Yeah. Sorry. We have enough coins? I got 2. Yeah. So in fact, just, you want to lead the way, we've got interesting places that we can go and start scheduling.
You know the neighborhood, you can even choose it by yourself.
Yeah.
Why you might think that it can be interesting to go for something. But you can go by your own, but well, there is one thing, so like somewhere around, which are the balconies.
Oh,
Which
yes.
is one place that is nice to observe.
Yes, I would really like that. But we were talking about this one. I mean, look at this. This is so strikingly Barcelona. I know when you live here, it becomes invisible. But it's amazing to see those balconies. And the opportunity to make revive. Yes, exactly. And they are these little spaces that could be reimagined. It could be and another vegetation line. And a real structural potential for something. So, yes, if anybody wants to make some specific observations about how they do work and how they might work.
Or even put some plants there.
Yeah. Exactly. What survives there? What actually, people do use them as, as green spaces. There are, and to build on that would be really a tremendous way to do urban infrastructure.
So what do you want to do? You go together, you just distribute?
I'd like to hear. I mean, I think we. Yeah, I think smaller groups is easier. So if we can stay in the area, maybe I just want to come to eavesdrop and hear what you guys are saying and talk to you. And,
But also to think about which are the best places to observe, even in the same neighborhood, no?
yeah,
So I think that's an easy question, but it's not that easy.
yeah,
Where to go to see flowers?
yeah.
To see-
Any natural phenomena, where do we look? Where is it?
So something that we can do is at least is, so maybe every 20 minutes or every some time to meet, no?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't we meet at the entry of Macba, in 15 minutes? Yeah? We have a bit of stuff to do, we sketch, and then how much time is it?
Now it's
Yeah.
5:15, so we have like 1 hour.
Yeah. So let's do one sketch, and we'll meet at 5:30 in front of Macba, and then we'll discuss
Yes,
again.
and we can discuss a little bit about what's
Yeah.
going on, no, and after that, maybe our missions. No?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna lock up, yeah? I'm thinking-
Yes, don't worry about that.
I just wanted to mention, because yesterday we had a TED talk, I saw a TED talk
with a woman. She designed a dress because she's got the very big waist. A big waist is burning the bodies after death because of all the pollution.
Yeah,
And
yeah, she's a good friend of mine. We worked together.
Oh, really? Really?
She was
Fantastic. I was
We're doing,
I was
the burial
wow,
suit,
that's it.
yes, we're actually doing a pet cemetery together
Oh, really?
in New York,
Yeah.
actually this season. Yeah.
This is very, I found it was so.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
This is
project.
really, really
Yes.
good.
Yes.
You want to walk around, you want to check out the installation, maybe a good moment.
Yes, you're right. It might be a good moment. Marking it. All right, so let me.
Perquè ens enganxem amb l'estació i d'aquí per veure encara estem al...
Thank you for having all of that printed out.
Yes.
Sí, molt bé.
Yeah.
Yes, because,
Yeah.
so perhaps now we can check everything there.
Sí, les flors encara no les hem posat?
No.
Ok.
So we can check everything there.
Yeah.
If you like, and just imagine what can be done meanwhile we finish the workshop. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Perfect. So can we? So I think, we'll get some sketches laid out
Yes.
along here.
It's fun, yeah. Yes?
Yeah. And then I don't know if we have some cola. I was going to actually draw some processes along
Okay,
that.
there, you.
Yeah. So we'll have between 5 and 7 to do that.
Yeah, no, we're gonna
Between
have
6 and 7.
6 and something, no? But, well, you can finish this workshop whenever you feel like
Right.
you want to stop, okay?
Right.
So I think that's important.
Right.
Hola,
Josep.
¿qué tal?
Natalie.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm working with
Yeah,
doing
so-
as the same as Noemi.
Right, he will be the space manager for you.
Great. Great.
Okay, so just
setting
to
up the lights then, yes?
Yes, the lights and the sound.
Okay.
Okay, with the microphone, an easy question. Can we walk around?
Yes.
We need to test it until where?
Okay, so
Right.
just to double
Yeah.
check that it works.
It should work.
So you can move around
We'll do
if you
some
want.
tests now. We are starting right now, so we'll do some tests. But
We need to see the limits.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you can walk around and explain whatever you want with a microphone.
Okay.
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 So secondly, you can from 6:15 you can work here
Right.
until 7 and just finalize what you feel. Even
Right.
with the people from the workshop, if they want to help them, well, that's
That
up
would
to
be
you.
great.
Okay?
Yeah. Do you think we could print out a few more images?
Well,
then?
we have to talk with
Yeah.
Yolanda because she has to go up the steps to do that. But
Okay.
you have to send her all the material.
Yeah.
Secondly, the plans.
Mhm.
We get ready these at 6:45 or just about 10-15 minutes before start.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And we have all the lights here, which are really powerful. Okay, so we
Great.
have 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We probably will only need one, but we'll
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to-
yeah.
We'll
Okay.
see. Yeah.
okay, so that's another thing. So I don't know how you want to handle all the timing, but I don't know if you want to drive the people outside. That's something feasible and can be done. Okay.
So the music that I have
Yes.
is actually for the Moth Cinema. The
Okay.
music's inside and the moth cinema's outside. So I'm not sure how to do that.
Okay.
Maybe I'll talk about. Maybe we should set it up so that we can see the moth cinema from here. Through the window, we should be able to see the moth cinema and listen to it. And I'll invite
Yeah.
people to go outside and watch them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mean that the sound?
Yeah.
The problem is that the sound will be everywhere,
Yeah. It'll
but
be
you can
everywhere.
explain here, no?
I
What
can
you mean?
explain here. I can explain the relationship between the sound and
And the clock and
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you perhaps you're gonna start here in a way
Yeah. Yeah.
the story.
Yeah. And I wonder. And the bar?
The bar will be there.
And it will be open.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And the next question will be where do you want to use the computer to control whatever you want to throw there, or is just something static in a sense that we just provide the file and they just keep the file and they just project whatever you want all the time.
Yeah, I can loop stuff there.
That's up to you. No, because if you have to take care about that, it will take you too much attention, no?
Yeah, it's useful for me. Okay. Yeah, let me think about how to do
In
it.
any case, the computer can be placed here if you want
Right.
to, and you can
Okay.
have some control.
Yeah.
¿No? Estaría aquí, ¿no? La ordenador?
It can be played here, or if you want to
Oh, there.
be
But if you want,
at the screen, can leave the computer there.
that's up to you.
Okay.
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 But perhaps it's better to have it
I
here,
think, yeah, I think
and you
do
have
it
full
here.
control.
Yeah,
Then,
yeah,
and you can swap whatever you want at any moment.
yeah, yeah. I think
Okay.
that'll work well.
Y lo montaremos aquí, ¿eh?
Yeah.
Sí, sí.
Great.
And you want to use another computer, yours, or
I'll probably
what do you
use
want to
this
do?
one.
And you have
Oh, no, the
you
other
have
one.
everything there.
Yeah, yeah.
Agafarem aquesta i la connectarem.
Okay, and you control with the touchpad directly, right?
Yeah. So,
Vale? La connectarem, farem alguna prova.
can I send you a few other things to print out?
Yes?
In the next 10 minutes or so?
Yes, yes. Okay, great.
Okay, thank you. Looking great, Ola.
What do you think?
It's fantastic. That was a great place to put these.
Yeah, because in the outside you cannot put it because
Yeah.
there's not any space.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just keep going with the. Do you know the other thing I thought you could do is hand letter on top in black the name of the species just on this.
El nom de cada un.
Yeah. So
I don't have good letters.
yeah, whoever has good lettering. Yeah. Yeah. So just inside the
Okay.
yeah.
In this part, you want?
I think that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Or in the end of each tree, maybe, or not?
Yeah, we could do that.
Because you have something similar in your,
Yeah.
like this.
I think that would
Bueno, doncs fem boli negre, no? I posem els...
És que jo tinc ultra mala lletra.
Bueno,
No, que jo penso que posem el nom, de each name of the tree,
Okay.
at the end of the...
Jo faig les lletres, si voleu.
vale.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I actually think this time, because it's hard to follow if you're up close reading it. You know, if there's a name, yeah, I don't know. I think just if you can do them all neatly along here, and then the ones that we haven't fit in, and then people aren't looking for the name everywhere.
Vale.
Yeah.
Tenim un boli del Piquet. Sí. We can't do it all, but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
enough.
actually, yeah, I think if you start from the ones you do and just keep going, because it's okay that we have, you know, however many we have filled out, knowing the species that are on there are great. So I think
All
if
the
you do,
species?
yeah, all the species, just, you know, from this order down, whatever. This one's cypress?
Cypress?
Yeah, it's the,
Yeah.
It is?
The other.
I see. Well, okay. Okay, so follow her order. And then otherwise keep going this way. So just keep
Yeah.
going down,
Yeah.
even if we don't have them filled in,
Okay.
just so people will know, you know, recognize some of the trees that we're.
And then you can invite people to paint it.
We can, yeah, we can do more that, you know, where we can keep going. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, we finish with this, and
Yeah.
then we will come back at 7 or more or less
Yeah.
to see the show and you again and say you goodbye.
Yes. And then I'll give you my firstborn.
Okay.
She'll I'll like that, but anyway. Okay, yeah, I'll be back. Oh, sorry.
¿Y en la camiseta está o guardarropas?
Vale, las dues.
Garbage. So that could be perhaps the next mission for the guys. Yeah.
Fill it up.
Okay, so I think that this is perhaps something that we should ask the guys in 10 minutes. In the workshop.
Yeah.
Could we do- yeah. And you wanna, in a way, so I think it could be nice also, no? That whenever you feel like is that they finally place the garbage by the road here. Yeah, one paper. Paper, no organic. Yeah, and by the way, you have an adapter for the Mac.
Joan is going to pick up
Okay,
one.
okay, we have one.
You have one.
I do have one.
Joan is coming with one. Let's try.
And when we have a moment, we just try the computer, okay, and just. And we
We'll
just
check the video and audio signal, and that's it.
the tables are fine like that, or you want to?
It's still 4 left. So
there is?
The 4 that there are.
If you want.
If you think it's necessary, if you think it's okay like that, we keep it like that. Now we have 6. And the plan is to add.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Depends on the material, no? That you want to place. Perhaps it's better to see the material and after that decide. Podem decidir a les 6 i alguna cosa, at 6 something?
A les 6 de...
Sí, el tema és que a 3:15 estigui tot llest.
Sí. Sí? We can wait, no?
Sí.
So the other question is,
Sí. Molt bé. Ara anem cap allà amb ella.
is there any white paper I mean, could I draw on this?
Hi ha un rolo de paper o alguna cosa? Això li pregunto a la Yolanda,
Sí,
potser, no?
potser millor.
Perquè pels tallers això deu tenir, igual ho té.
M'imagino que sí.
Ja l'he mirat. Bueno, perquè el tema és si no per dibuixar aquí, si no després es neteja, això seria l'altra possibilitat.
Que digui, sí,
Pregunto a la Yolanda.
sí.
The other thing is glass. If there's any glass shelving or glass.
I guess this is going to be more difficult to get to the glass.
There's no
Top table, you mean like kind of?
Yeah, except usually the glass shelving that's inside, display cases or things is often, it doesn't need to fit. It can just be glass
on
alone.
top of. We don't have this kind of. I think we could maybe get some of those like paper, like roll paper.
Una pregunta.
So you need to paint on top of it, like with.
Vale,
Yes.
vale, perquè pintar sobre algun tipus de cosa que sigui netejable.
But I think
Saps què vull dir, no? M'entén? Aquí. Serà un merder, que s'haurà d'anar a netejar.
Aún no. Sí, pero aún no decide. Sí, dice que depende de la cantidad de material que traes. Y a las 6 y pico, lo decidirá. Yes.
we can borrow it.
We should go there, but we can go there.
Is it possible that we do the testing not with the projector?
We have the adapter.
Can we use?
Yes, but no, it's the other computer.
It's the other computer.
Okay. This is
Voy a enviarme un correo.
Vamos a buscar
So they're gonna be back now. This one is here.
okay. Sorry, 5:30. Are they back?
Let's at least give them the computer and we can just go.
Yeah. That would be great, yes.
Okay. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any password?
Yes, 4, the number 4.
That's it.
Yeah. Hello. So how was it?
Fine.
Do we have any drawings yet?
Yeah. No, in the wall in front of the street.
Maybe you can select them. Yeah, because yeah, and I saw dogs over there. And there are 2 young dogs. There's dogs. I don't know what, because I work for monkeys. It seems not very good. Oh, I'm doing urban gardening, and we always say, don't ship, let him ship here. It's so great.